Imagine a time long ago. It's the year 180 AD, and the Roman Empire stands at its peak, its vast legions stretching across continents, its influence felt everywhere. At the heart of this empire, there lived a man, a ruler, an emperor, but not just any ruler. His name was Marcus Aurelius. And while the world around him demanded his attention, while battles raged and politics played out in the grand halls of Rome, Marcus Aurelius did something different. He didn't write for fame. He didn't write for glory. No, his reflections were for himself, for his own mind and soul. In his private moments, amidst the noise of empire, he wrote what we now know as Meditations. This book, born of personal reflection, is one of the most powerful works ever written on leadership, resilience, and inner peace. But here's the thing, the wisdom Marcus Aurelius shared more than 2,000 years ago. It still holds the power to shape our lives today. In this journey, we'll uncover the timeless lessons of this Stoic emperor. His words, once written on the pages of a book meant only for his eyes, can now guide us in our own daily lives. And perhaps, just perhaps, help us find a little more peace, a little more purpose, even in the busy world we live in today. Lesson 1: The power of controlling your mind. Marcus Aurelius teaches us a powerful truth: our thoughts are not just reactions to the world, they shape the very world we experience. He reminds himself over and over throughout Meditations that the only thing he truly controls is his mind. Everything else, circumstances, other people, even the future, is beyond his grasp. And yet, in that very realization, he found the key to his peace and power. Imagine for a moment, you're stuck in traffic, on your way to an important meeting. You glance at the clock, you're late. Your heart starts racing, your thoughts spiral into frustration. Why is this happening to me? Why now? The situation is beyond your control, but it's so easy to feel as if it's making you angry, making you stressed. But Marcus would tell you, it's not the traffic that's causing your anger. It's how you're reacting to it. The traffic is simply an event, a set of circumstances that don't change the fact that you have the power to choose how you respond. You may not be able to control the cars ahead of you, but you can control the storm inside you. Now, let's dig deeper. Imagine how different your life would be if you truly internalized this idea. What if, every time you faced an obstacle, whether at work, in relationships, or just in everyday annoyances, you stopped for a moment and reminded yourself, this is outside of my control. What I can control is how I react. By shifting your perspective like this, you begin to see the world through a new lens. Rather than feeling powerless when life throws you a curveball, you feel empowered. You begin to realize that how you react to the world is far more important than the world itself. In fact, it's the only thing you can control. This mindset isn't just liberating, it's transformative. It allows you to stop fighting against circumstances that you cannot change and instead focus on mastering the one thing that will make the greatest impact: your own mind. Consider this: Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, faced challenges that many of us can hardly imagine. He was not just a leader in name, he battled on the front lines, faced betrayal, loss, and immense pressure. And yet, he did not allow external chaos to disturb his inner peace. His strength lay not in his ability to control the empire but in his ability to control how he responded to every situation. Now, picture yourself in a similar moment, perhaps a difficult conversation, an unexpected setback, or even an emotional challenge. In those moments, the most powerful tool you have is your own mind. The lesson Marcus teaches is this: by mastering your reactions, you begin to master your life. Instead of feeling victim to the whims of the world, you recognize that your mind is a fortress, unshaken by the storms around you. This lesson can change the way you view everything. You'll start to realize that the stress you carry isn't always a result of what happens, but how you choose to interpret it. The power lies in your response, in your decision to stay calm, grounded, and clear-headed, even when the world around you seems anything but. In those moments, you'll find a new kind of freedom, not freedom from challenges, but freedom from being controlled by them. So, take a moment, right now. Breathe in, breathe out. And remind yourself, you can't control everything around you, but you can control how you respond. This small shift in perspective, this simple act of choosing peace, can transform how you see the world and, ultimately, how you live in it. Lesson 2, embrace the present moment. One of the most profound and life-changing ideas in meditations is Marcus Aurelius' reminder to live in the present. Throughout his writings, he repeatedly advises himself not to dwell on the past or worry about the future, but to focus entirely on what he's doing in the moment. He knew, as we often forget, that life is fleeting, and each moment is precious. Think about it for a moment. How often do we find ourselves trapped in the past, replaying old mistakes or regrets? Or perhaps you're caught up in anxiety about the future, worrying about what will happen tomorrow or the next week. The problem is, while we're lost in thoughts of what was or what will be, we miss what is. The present moment slips right through our fingers. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He saw how easily our minds wander and how much energy we waste on things beyond our control. He had an empire to run, wars to fight, and personal battles to endure, yet he still found time to remind himself, what is happening right now is what matters. Not the past, not the future, just now. Now, let's take a closer look at how this simple idea can completely transform the way we live. Imagine you're having a conversation with a friend. How many times have you been in a conversation, but your mind was somewhere else? Maybe you were thinking about the email you still need to send, or the errands you have to run. While you're physically present, your mind is somewhere in the future, and you miss the opportunity to truly connect. This is where Marcus' teaching is so valuable. What if, in that moment, you decided to truly listen? To let go of your mental distractions and just be with the person in front of you, fully engaged in the present moment? It's in those moments of presence, those small, simple moments, that true peace lies. By being fully present, we give ourselves the gift of connection, of calm, and of real experiences. No longer burdened by worries of what's next, we start to see life as it truly is. We begin to appreciate the richness of each moment. This shift in perspective doesn't just change the way we interact with others, it changes the way we interact with the world. Think about the next time you find yourself in a stressful situation. Perhaps you're stuck in a long line, or the pressure of work is piling up. It's easy to feel frustrated, to let those feelings consume you. But imagine, instead, taking a deep breath, grounding yourself, and simply observing the present moment without judgment. When we stop fighting against the flow of life and start embracing the present, we begin to notice things we would otherwise overlook, the small victories, the fleeting beauty of the world around us, and the peace that comes with accepting the here and now. This practice allows us to stop feeling as though life is something happening to us, and instead realize that life is something we are actively living. But here's where it gets even more transformative. Living in the present doesn't just free us from stress, it gives us control over how we experience life. When we stop worrying about what was and what will be, we stop wasting energy. We become more efficient, more focused, and more peaceful. And when we make this shift, the things that once seemed overwhelming no longer have power over us. We respond with clarity, calm, and an open heart. It's a subtle change, but a powerful one. You stop seeing life as a series of hurdles to jump over and start seeing it as a series of moments to experience. Your work, your relationships, even the simple act of drinking a cup of coffee, these moments become richer, more meaningful, because you are fully present in them. Marcus Aurelius didn't live in a time of peace and quiet. He was an emperor facing wars, betrayals, and the constant demands of leadership. But through it all, he practiced presence. By focusing on the now, he found a deeper sense of purpose and peace that no external circumstance could take away. So, the next time you're lost in thought, whether caught in the grip of regret or worry, take a moment. Pause. Breathe. And remind yourself that the only moment you truly have is right now. In that moment, there is freedom, there is clarity, and there is peace. Embrace the present, and you'll start to see the world in a whole new way. You'll begin to realize that the joy, the peace, and the meaning you've been seeking have always been here, in the present moment. All you have to do is open your eyes and experience it. Lesson 3, Practice Gratitude. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, had a secret to maintaining his mental clarity and peace amidst the chaos of empire building and leadership. That secret was gratitude. Every day, without fail, Marcus took time to write down the things he was grateful for. At first glance, it might seem like a small habit, something we'd overlook in the rush of our daily lives. But for Marcus, this practice was a cornerstone of his mental and emotional resilience. In a world that often focuses on what's wrong or what we lack, Marcus deliberately trained his mind to focus on what was abundant in his life. He didn't ignore the difficulties or challenges he faced. He certainly had his share, but instead of dwelling on what was missing or what went wrong, he made gratitude a conscious, daily habit. And this simple shift, focusing on the positives rather than the negatives, became a source of strength, peace, and joy for him. Now, let's bring this idea into your own life. How often do you wake up in the morning and the first thought that crosses your mind is something you're worried about? Maybe it's the long day ahead, the tasks you have to get done, or something that's stressing you out. It's so easy to let our minds be consumed by these worries, isn't it? But what if, instead of starting your day in that mindset, you took a moment to reflect on what you're thankful for? What if, as you open your eyes in the morning, you say to yourself, "I'm grateful for a warm bed, the chance to learn something new today, and the people in my life who care about me." Simple things, yes, but those small moments of gratitude can completely change how you feel. This practice doesn't just lift your spirits for a few minutes, it has the power to transform your entire perspective. Gratitude helps you shift from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. It's easy to get stuck thinking about what's missing, about the things we don't have, the goals we haven't achieved. But when you intentionally focus on what you do have, you begin to see the world through a new lens. You begin to realize that even in difficult circumstances, there's always something to be thankful for, whether it's your health, your ability to think clearly, or the love of friends and family. And this shift isn't just about feeling good in the moment. It changes the way you approach life. When you start each day with gratitude, it sets the tone for everything that follows. You move through your day not fixating on obstacles, but seeing them as opportunities. Gratitude fosters resilience because it reminds you that no matter how challenging things might get, you are already rich in what matters most. You have the strength to endure, and the support of those around you. Imagine what would happen if we all lived this way. What if we could train our minds, like Marcus Aurelius did, to pause every day and reflect on what we have instead of what we lack? The world would feel a lot less heavy. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by what's missing, we would recognize the abundance in our lives, small blessings, quiet moments, and the little victories. And the most profound shift comes when we realize that gratitude doesn't only apply to the easy moments of life, it applies to the difficult ones, too. When we are grateful for our challenges, we see them not as burdens, but as lessons. We realize that even in hardship, we have opportunities for growth. We are stronger for having faced adversity. We are grateful for the lessons it brings, for the patience it teaches, and for the resilience it builds within us. In his writings, Marcus Aurelius often reflected on how fleeting life is. He didn't take his time for granted. By practicing gratitude, he not only appreciated the good things but also found peace in the inevitable hardships. When we embrace gratitude in the same way, we free ourselves from the grip of negativity. We stop waiting for things to be perfect and start appreciating them as they are. So, the next time you find yourself feeling frustrated or overwhelmed, pause for a moment. Breathe. And think about the things in your life you're thankful for. Maybe it's your morning cup of coffee, a moment of laughter with a loved one, or the simple fact that you have another day to make a difference. Start small, but start with gratitude. By practicing gratitude every day, just like Marcus Aurelius did, you'll find that you begin to see the world differently. You'll begin to see abundance where you once saw lack, strength where you once saw weakness, and peace in the midst of chaos. Gratitude changes everything. And in embracing it, you'll change the way you see not only the world but yourself as well. Lesson 4. Embrace adversity as growth. Point 1 of the most profound teachings Marcus Aurelius offers in Meditations is about how we view adversity. In a world where we're often encouraged to avoid difficulty at all costs, Marcus teaches us to look at challenges as opportunities to grow, to learn, and to become better versions of ourselves. Marcus didn't live a life free of hardship. Quite the opposite. As a Roman emperor, he faced wars, betrayals from trusted allies, personal grief, and the immense responsibility of leading an empire. Yet, despite these struggles, he didn't see these obstacles as signs of failure or reasons to complain. Instead, he embraced them. He saw them as tests of his character, his resilience, and his ability to grow. For Marcus, adversity wasn't something to fear or resent. It was a natural part of life, and each difficulty was an invitation to rise above it. He often reminded himself that hardships were not obstacles to his peace, they were opportunities to practice his virtues. Through every trial, whether it was managing the empire's defense or enduring personal loss, he chose to view these moments as chances to learn patience, courage, wisdom, and endurance. Now, let's pause and consider how this mindset can change the way we see the world. Think about a challenge you're facing right now, whether it's a difficult situation at work, a personal setback, or a problem that feels overwhelming. In our culture, the natural instinct is often to avoid these difficulties, to wish them away, or to focus on how unfair they are. But what if, instead, we saw them as Marcus did, as an opportunity to grow stronger? Take, for example, a challenging project at work. It might feel like a burden, one more thing on your to-do list. It's easy to become frustrated, to feel like you're being tested beyond your limits. But imagine looking at this project not as an obstacle, but as a chance to learn something new. Maybe you'll develop skills you didn't know you had. Maybe you'll learn how to communicate better, how to manage your time more effectively, or how to stay calm under pressure. Instead of thinking, this is just too much, think, this is exactly the situation I need to develop the strength and skills to handle more in the future. When you shift your perspective in this way, adversity becomes less of a burden and more of a tool for growth. Life becomes a series of opportunities, and challenges become stepping stones toward a stronger, more capable you. And when you begin to see the value in every difficulty, you'll notice that your whole perspective on life changes. You won't fear problems or setbacks as much because you know they are part of the journey. Marcus understood this on a deep level. He didn't see himself as a victim of his circumstances, he saw himself as a participant in a world full of lessons waiting to be learned. And that shift in perspective didn't just make him more resilient, it made him wiser. It allowed him to stay focused on what truly mattered, even when everything around him seemed uncertain or chaotic. This mindset can change the way you approach everything in life. Instead of feeling weighed down by life's difficulties, you begin to see them as opportunities for growth. You stop being defined by your circumstances, and instead, you become the person who rises to meet them, who learns from them, and who becomes better because of them. And this is where it gets even more transformative. When you learn to embrace adversity, you also begin to see the world around you differently. You stop seeing life's difficulties as personal attacks, as things that are happening to you. You begin to see them as part of the natural flow of life. Just like the seasons, there will be times of struggle, but there will also be times of peace and ease. It becomes clear that every challenge, no matter how tough, is temporary and can be overcome. This mindset doesn't just change how you face hardship, it changes how you view life itself. Imagine a world where everyone saw challenges as opportunities for growth, where we didn't dread difficult situations, but instead welcomed them as chances to evolve. In such a world, we wouldn't be afraid of failure because we'd understand that failure is just another lesson. We wouldn't avoid challenges because we'd know that overcoming them makes us stronger. Life would no longer feel like a series of problems to be solved but as a journey of continuous personal growth. So, the next time adversity strikes, remember Marcus Aurelius' wisdom. Instead of running from the challenge or lamenting its arrival, ask yourself, what is this situation trying to teach me? How can I grow from this? In doing so, you'll begin to see adversity not as a burden, but as a gift, the gift of growth, resilience, and the opportunity to become the best version of yourself. Lesson 5, The Importance of Virtue. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, teaches us that true happiness doesn't come from external wealth, fame, or material success. It comes from living virtuously. For Marcus, the highest pursuit in life was not to acquire possessions or accolades, but to cultivate character. To be honest, just, courageous, and wise, these virtues, he believed, were the true markers of a successful life. In our modern world, it's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of material success. We're constantly bombarded with messages telling us that our worth is determined by what we own, how much we make, or how popular we are. But Marcus Aurelius challenges this notion. He believed that our inner character, the virtues we practice, are the foundation of true fulfillment. Virtue doesn't depend on the external world, and that's what makes it so powerful. It's something we can control, something that stays with us regardless of our circumstances. Think about it, in a world where we're encouraged to chase after wealth and success, what happens when those things are no longer in reach? What happens when we face difficulties that money or status can't solve? Marcus Aurelius reminds us that it's our character that will see us through tough times. It's the honesty we show when it's tempting to lie, the courage we summon when fear creeps in, and the wisdom we apply when making tough decisions that define our true success. Now, let's take a moment to reflect on your own life. Have you ever faced a situation where you had to make a moral decision? Maybe it was a seemingly small thing, like deciding to tell the truth, even though lying might have been easier. Perhaps you chose to stand up for someone when it wasn't the popular thing to do, or you helped a stranger in need when it meant disrupting your own plans. These are the moments Marcus Aurelius would have called virtue in action. For him, living virtuously wasn't about grand gestures or public recognition. It wasn't about impressing others or seeking praise. It was about doing what was right when no one was looking. It was about making those small, everyday decisions that align with honesty, justice, wisdom, and courage. These seemingly insignificant moments build our character and lead us to a more meaningful, peaceful life. When we start making virtue our guiding principle, we begin to shift our entire perspective on life. Imagine waking up every day not with a list of things to acquire, but with a commitment to be a better person, someone who practices virtue in every interaction. The focus isn't on external accomplishments but on inner growth. We begin to ask ourselves, how can I contribute to the world today through honesty, kindness, and courage? And here's where the perspective shift becomes powerful. When we begin to live virtuously, we see the world in a different light. We no longer measure our success by the material things we have or the accolades we receive. Instead, we find fulfillment in doing what's right, in acting with integrity, and in being the best versions of ourselves in every situation. This shift changes how we approach the world. Instead of looking for validation from external sources, we look inward. We find peace and contentment in our own character, in knowing that we're living in alignment with our values. And this changes how we interact with others. When we act with virtue, we treat others with respect and kindness, no matter their status or position. We stop judging others based on their external circumstances, and we start valuing them for the character they show. Living virtuously also helps us maintain our peace, even when things around us are chaotic. Imagine being faced with a difficult decision at work, a situation where you're tempted to cut corners or take the easy way out. Instead of feeling stressed or anxious about the consequences, you focus on what's right. You ask yourself, what would honesty, courage, or justice look like in this situation? This mindset not only helps you make better decisions, but it also gives you a sense of calm and purpose. When we prioritize virtue, we start to see that true success isn't about having more, it's about becoming more. It's about becoming someone who faces life's challenges with integrity, who treats others with kindness, and who remains steadfast in their principles, regardless of what the world throws at them. So, the next time you're faced with a decision, whether it's big or small, ask yourself, what is the virtuous choice here? What would honesty, courage, or wisdom guide me to do? It's in these moments that we build our strength and peace, and it's in these moments that we begin to transform not just ourselves, but the world around us. Lesson 6. Accept impermanence. One of the most profound lessons in Marcus Aurelius' Meditations is the understanding that nothing in life is permanent. He writes frequently about the transient nature of existence, the fact that everything, from our joys to our sorrows, is fleeting. For Marcus, this realization wasn't one of despair, rather, it was one of liberation. By embracing impermanence, we are reminded not to cling too tightly to anything, whether it's the high points of our lives or the low points we are struggling through. Think about how often we get caught up in the illusion of permanence. We form attachments to things, people, and outcomes, believing they will always remain the same. But life is constantly changing. Just as the seasons shift, so too does everything around us. Our relationships evolve, our careers change, our bodies age, and our emotions fluctuate. Nothing stays the same forever. When we truly accept this, we stop fighting against the inevitable. We stop resisting the natural course of events and begin to flow with life, instead of pushing against it. Imagine, for a moment, you're facing a challenging period in your life. Maybe you're dealing with a setback at work, or perhaps you're going through a difficult time in your personal life. It's easy to feel trapped or overwhelmed, like this hardship will last forever. But Marcus teaches us that it won't. Just like the seasons change, this too will pass. By accepting impermanence, we free ourselves from the grip of anxiety. Instead of fearing the unknown or the end of a particular phase of life, we start to see these moments as part of a larger, ever-evolving process. The tough times we face no longer define us. They are just temporary chapters in a much bigger story, a story that is constantly unfolding. In this way, we begin to navigate life with greater ease, knowing that the challenges we face now are not permanent and will eventually give way to something new. Let's dive deeper into how accepting impermanence shifts our perspective. When we hold on too tightly to things, we miss out on the beauty of the present moment. We either regret the past or anxiously anticipate the future. But when we truly embrace impermanence, we become more present. We stop waiting for the perfect moment or obsessing over what could go wrong. We begin to savor what's in front of us right now, understanding that each moment is fleeting and therefore precious. Think about a time when you were in a difficult situation, perhaps feeling overwhelmed by the pressures around you. Maybe it was a tough conversation, a job loss, or a personal disappointment. It felt like everything was falling apart. But by accepting that this moment was temporary, you allowed yourself to let go of the fear and stress. You might have realized that even if things were difficult, they wouldn't last forever. This acceptance opened the door for you to face the situation with a calmer, clearer mind. Now, consider how this shift in perspective could change the way you approach life as a whole. When you embrace impermanence, you stop seeing challenges as threats and start seeing them as opportunities for growth. Life's changes become less something to fear and more something to embrace. This awareness that nothing is permanent, whether it's a hardship or a success, allows us to live with less attachment, less worry, and more peace. In fact, this understanding can change the way we approach our relationships, too. We often take our loved ones for granted, assuming they will always be there, without appreciating the preciousness of each moment. By accepting that life is fleeting, we begin to cherish those around us more deeply, knowing that every conversation, every shared laugh, and every hug is a moment that will eventually pass. This leads us to become more present with others, not distracted by the past or future, but fully engaged in the now. In a world that constantly pushes us to seek more achievements, more possessions, more success, Marcus' reminder to accept impermanence brings us back to what truly matters. It invites us to stop grasping for things that don't last and to focus on what we can control, our responses, our presence, and our relationships. It encourages us to savor the fleeting moments and find peace in knowing that life's constant changes are not something to resist, but something to embrace with open arms. The beauty of this lesson is that it frees us. By letting go of our attachment to permanence, we release the anxiety of trying to hold on to things that were never meant to last. We stop being afraid of loss, because we understand that it's just part of the natural cycle. We no longer fear the end of a chapter in our lives, because we know that a new one will inevitably begin. So, the next time you find yourself struggling with a difficult situation, take a moment to reflect. Remind yourself that this moment is just that, a moment. It will pass. And through it, you'll grow. By accepting the impermanence of life, you open yourself to live more fully, to appreciate the now, and to face life's inevitable changes with peace and resilience. In the end, Marcus Aurelius teaches us that the acceptance of impermanence is not something to fear, but something that can bring us deep peace. It allows us to stop resisting change and start embracing life as it is, moment by moment. Lesson 7: The interconnectedness of all things. Marcus Aurelius saw the world in a way that's both profound and beautiful, as a web, where every action, every person, and every event is connected. For him, everything in the universe is rational and serves a greater purpose, even if we don't always see it. It's a perspective that reminds us that we're not separate from the world around us. Rather, we are all part of the same vast, interconnected whole. In his meditations, Marcus reflects on this idea often, understanding that every choice we make, every interaction we have, sends ripples out into the world. He didn't see himself as isolated from others. Instead, he recognized that the way he treated people, the energy he put out into the world, had an impact, both on others and on himself. Let's pause for a moment and think about how we interact with people every day. It could be your colleague at work, a stranger you pass on the street, or a close friend. Have you ever stopped to consider how your actions, however small, affect the people around you? Think about the last time you smiled at someone, held the door open for a stranger, or gave a kind word to a friend who was feeling down. Those simple actions, small as they may seem, are part of a larger chain of events. They create a ripple effect. Your kindness might brighten someone's day, which could inspire them to pass that kindness forward. Maybe they help someone else, and so on, like a thread weaving through the world, connecting us all. But on the flip side, consider a moment when you were irritated or upset, and perhaps that mood leaked into your interaction with someone else. Maybe you were short with a colleague or dismissed someone's ideas, unintentionally creating a tension in the air. That too is a ripple, but one that spreads negativity instead of positivity. Marcus believed that all these small moments matter, because everything we do sends waves out into the world, affecting the people around us and ultimately shaping our shared experience. Imagine, for a moment, if we all lived with the understanding that our actions are interconnected. What if, instead of reacting with impatience or anger when things don't go our way, we chose to respond with kindness and empathy? What if, every time we interacted with someone, we remembered that they, too, are part of the same greater whole? When Marcus Aurelius talked about this interconnectedness, he wasn't just referring to our actions. He was also speaking to our shared humanity. To him, every person was a part of the same universal system, just as we are all part of nature's grand design. There is no them and us. There is only us. When we treat others with respect, compassion, and understanding, we honor this unity, and we contribute to a more peaceful world. Think about how different the world would be if we all embraced this idea. If we understood that our actions, big or small, matter. If we saw our interactions with others not as isolated events, but as integral parts of the same flow. In a world where kindness ripples outward, and respect for others is the foundation, peace and harmony become more than just ideals, they become our reality. By practicing this interconnectedness, we also learn to extend grace to others. We begin to understand that everyone is dealing with something, and that we are all walking this path together. When we shift our perspective to see ourselves as part of a collective whole, we stop seeing people as obstacles or inconveniences. Instead, we see them as fellow travelers on this shared journey of life. So, the next time you find yourself interacting with someone, take a moment to consider this lesson. Remember that every word, every gesture, has the power to create ripples. Whether it's kindness, patience, or understanding, you are part of a much larger tapestry. And by treating others with respect and empathy, you are contributing to a world where peace and connection thrive. In the end, Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the universe is a harmonious, rational whole, and by understanding that we're all part of it, we can live more thoughtfully, more kindly, and more at peace with ourselves and with others. Lesson 8, Live According to Nature. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius reflects frequently on the importance of living according to nature, not just the natural world around us, but also the nature that lies within us as humans. This idea is at the heart of Stoicism. It's about accepting the natural order of things, understanding the world as it is, and recognizing that we are part of a much larger system that is constantly changing. Imagine a tree in your yard. At first, it's a small seed, fragile and barely noticeable. Over time, it grows, steadily, slowly, with purpose. It doesn't fight the seasons or try to hold on to the past. When the autumn comes, and the leaves fall, the tree doesn't resist, it simply allows it to happen, knowing that it's part of its cycle. By the time winter arrives, the tree is stripped bare, yet it rests, knowing the spring will bring new growth. The tree's life is full of change, but it moves with it, not against it. This is the lesson Marcus Aurelius imparts to us. Life is in constant flux, and we must learn to live according to this natural rhythm. Just as the tree grows, changes, and accepts death without resistance, so too must we embrace the changes in our own lives. Whether it's the inevitable passage of time, personal loss, or the challenges that life throws our way, we must learn to flow with them, rather than struggle against them. We cannot control the seasons, but we can accept that they come and go. And in this acceptance, we find peace. Marcus believed that when we live according to nature, we align ourselves with the very forces that govern the universe. Instead of fighting change or trying to resist the inevitable, we learn to trust the process of life. It's about letting go of the illusion of control and accepting that the only thing we can truly control is how we respond to life's events. By doing so, we stop wasting energy fighting the current of life and start moving with it. And in that flow, we find purpose. Consider how this might change the way we view the world around us. Often, we try to hold on to things, whether it's our youth, our possessions, or a specific idea of who we should be. We fear change because we think it means loss, but Marcus reminds us that change is not something to be feared, it is an essential part of life. We must learn to accept that everything, good or bad, is temporary. This doesn't mean we should become passive or detached from life, but rather that we should engage with it fully, knowing that all things, joy and sorrow, are fleeting. Take a moment to think about the seasons of your life. There are times when we're filled with energy, when we're in full bloom, like the vibrant spring or summer. But there are also times when we feel empty, when we are faced with challenges, like the barren winter. These periods of hardship are part of the natural course, and just as winter gives way to spring, these hard times too shall pass. When we accept the impermanence of life, we free ourselves from the anxiety of trying to control the uncontrollable. We stop fearing the future, and we start living more fully in the present. Now, think about how this perspective can shift the way we live. By accepting the natural flow of life, we can stop resisting change. We begin to appreciate the small moments, understanding that they are part of the greater tapestry of life. The imperfections, the challenges, and even the losses become opportunities to grow, learn, and become wiser. And in that process, we become more aligned with who we truly are, beings meant to grow in virtue, wisdom, and harmony with the world. Living according to nature also means accepting human nature. It means understanding that our true essence is to seek virtue and wisdom. Marcus believed that our most authentic self is one that seeks justice, courage, honesty, and kindness. These virtues are what allow us to live in harmony with the world around us. When we focus on developing these qualities, we are living in alignment with our true nature. Instead of chasing after external pleasures or trying to accumulate wealth or status, we turn inward and seek to grow as individuals. This is the true path to happiness and peace. So, how does this lesson change the way we view the world? When we embrace the idea of living according to nature, we stop seeing life as a series of random events or obstacles to overcome. We begin to see life as a process, a beautiful, ever-changing flow that we are all part of. Every season, every challenge, every joy is a part of the natural order, and when we align ourselves with that order, we live with purpose and serenity. We stop fighting against the inevitable, and we start moving with it. The next time you face a challenge, or feel yourself resisting change, remember the lesson of the tree. Embrace the ebb and flow of life, and trust that every phase has its purpose. Just like the tree that grows, bears fruit, and eventually gives way to new life, you too are part of a larger, natural process. And when you live according to nature, you live in harmony with the universe itself, finding peace, purpose, and contentment in the ever-changing flow of life. Marcus Aurelius' Meditations is more than just a book, it's a guide to life. Simple, yet profound. Its timeless lessons resonate because they touch on the core of human existence. The peace we seek doesn't come from external circumstances, but from within. Life's challenges. They're not obstacles to overcome, but opportunities for growth. And the most powerful tool we have is the mind. Our thoughts shape our experience, and by mastering them, we can navigate life with clarity and strength. Here are the key lessons we've learned from meditations. The power of controlling your mind. Your thoughts shape your reality. You can't control everything around you, but you can always control how you respond. The key to peace is mastering your mind. Embrace the present moment, life is fleeting. By focusing on the present, you stop dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. Each moment is precious, and living in the now is where true peace lies. Practice gratitude. Marcus Aurelius found strength in gratitude. Shifting your focus from what's lacking to what's abundant transforms your mindset from scarcity to abundance, bringing clarity and joy to your life. Embrace adversity as growth. Life's challenges are opportunities to grow. Every hardship can help you build resilience and emerge stronger, making you a better version of yourself. The importance of virtue. True happiness comes from cultivating virtues, honesty, justice, courage, and wisdom. It's in these small moments of moral strength that we find our true power. Accept impermanence. Everything is temporary: joy, sorrow, good times, and bad. By accepting the impermanence of life, you free yourself from the fear of change and live with greater ease. The interconnectedness of all things, every action, every interaction, ripples outward. We are all connected, and by treating others with respect and empathy, we bring peace to ourselves and the world. Live according to nature, life flows in cycles. Like nature, we too must grow, change, and accept our inevitable end. By aligning with the natural course of things, we live with purpose, wisdom, and peace. Whether you're facing adversity, struggling to stay present, or simply seeking purpose in your day-to-day life, remember the wisdom Marcus Aurelius shared. Live virtuously. Be honest, kind, and wise. Accept that life is impermanent, and change is inevitable. Control your mind, and most importantly, cultivate gratitude for each moment, no matter how small. Because, as Marcus himself said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Thank you for joining me on this journey through meditations. If you found these lessons helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Keep reflecting, keep growing, and remember, the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius is always there, waiting for you whenever you need it.